Hey everybody, Jake and Gino here, and we're doing a quick video on negotiation. The G-Daddy has become quite the writer these days, and he put out an awesome article, Negotiation Techniques That Will Help Every Newbie Land a Better Deal. Mr. G-Dad, how is it going today?
Mr. J-Love, doing good. Week before Christmas, wanted to put this negotiation video out because I think a lot of newbies, myself included, it's a skill, it's an art. You really have to learn how to negotiate. You really have to learn some of these tips on how to build more rapport with people, how to create win-wins. Yes, win-wins are for real. You want to live your life in a win-win situation. You want to raise the energy of everybody else in the room. You want to be more passionate about it, and you want to create those win-wins, Jake. You don't want to work with somebody you don't like to, because that's going to be a one and done. We're not one and done kind of guys. We want to create a relationship, a lasting relationship, and you want to be known.
That doesn't mean overpay.
No,
right?
It doesn't
mean overpay.
No, because you have to find out, as we're going to jump into, you have to find out how to solve a problem. This is what negotiation and life is all about. The bigger the problem you solve, if you have 600 units, you solve that problem, you're going to make a ton of money. If you have 6 units, it's going to be a smaller problem, but you're still going to make money. But that's the key. And every situation is unique. Why is one seller selling as opposed to another? That's what negotiation is all about. It's all about listening. God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. We have to listen, right, Jake?
I have two mouths and 1 ear, but it's okay.
But you know what? You're learning with me, right, bro? Because we're all about thinking about what we're going to say. In negotiation, sometimes silence is key. Sometimes silence and pulling back. And Jake, you've done a lot of sales training. That's the key to being a great salesman, is not telling the prospect what you're going to sell them, but asking them what they need. And through their body language, through their words, they're going to tell you, Jake, I really want to learn multifamily. I don't know which way to go. And you can present to them certain various options.
And then crafting an offer that's going to meet both sides' needs in the best spot. Some people say they hold their nose, and both people holding their nose is a good deal. That may be the case. But our whole mantra has been always from the beginning, patient, persistent, but willing to walk away. So let's talk about what that means. Deals don't happen overnight. We're talking, we're in the, anywhere from $5 to $15 million range. Most of the deals we're doing now. This is not going to be, a deal that's going to get done in a week. Okay. Well, I'd like it to get done in a week, but most of the time that's not realistic. So you got to be patient, hang in there. It's going to have ups and downs, and it's going to look, 1 minute it's going to look great, the next minute it's not going to look great, and it looks like the deal's going to fold, and it's going to go like this until really the last day, right? Typically.
What's funny about it, I think this is one of the biggest keys, and I'm going to bring in Jake's story. You cannot become personal on a deal, although that's one of my biggest problems, and that's one of Jake's biggest problems. I can speak to him because we're the most impatient people on the planet. So when we first started out, we wanted the deal. You could see the drool coming down from our lips.
Let's go.
We got to get this. And if the seller or the buyer, they sense that, then you have less leverage. But if you're willing to say, hey guys, at this number, this doesn't work for me, and I'll bring up the specific example that I wrote in the article. It's on Bigger Pockets. Jake is looking at a house on a lake.
You talking about the lake house, man?
I love that, bro. Because it's perfect, right? Because
I've walked away twice so far.
Okay, you know why? Because you could walk away. But if the wife was negotiating that deal, she would have overpaid, she would have not gotten what she wanted, and she would have gotten a pretty bad deal on it. But your diligence, and you're willing to walk away, and your experience knowing not to let the guy know that you really do love the house, you really want the house, but you're willing to say to yourself, it's really all about the numbers, and it's just, I'm willing to walk away. That's why personal residences are a lot harder than doing business deals. Because when you get personally attached to something, and the guy on the other side knows that, you're done. You have to be able to say to yourself, it's a business transaction. I can't overpay this. I'm willing to walk away. And that's one of our biggest mantras. And it took us a little while to learn that. Don't fall in love with the deal, and be willing to walk away from the deal.
So even though we're in multifamily, I'm going to tie this back in. So the lake house, I've been working on it for over a year. We've basically agreed on terms twice. It hasn't worked out, and I've walked away twice. But I've been persistent, and I'm probably going to go after it again in the spring. So it's I think I eventually will get it done, and it's just that's part of the game. And we just worked on we closed on a deal in March of 2016 that we worked on for almost a year, and we came in third place. We eventually came back to us, and we just actually had to walk away from a deal because there's a plumbing issue. But we worked on that. We went in hard, and really negotiated for a fair deal. But then when we got into it, it wasn't, really, we couldn't buy it, right, Gino? It wasn't, Gino referred to it as the hot potato because eventually the system was gonna fail.
But the problem that we
have to walk away.
The problem we have with this deal is we've invested so much time into it. So another thing with negotiation is Deadlines are really important in negotiation. Do not have a hard deadline, because what happens, Jake, at the very end, it's like a deadline for my kids when they have homework. If their school is due on Friday at 3 o'clock, when are they going to start their paper? Thursday at 11 o'clock at night, and that's the problem with deadlines. If you know the other side's deadline, you are in a great advantage, because you know when they have to get the deal done. You have to say to yourself, why do I have this hard deadline? Can I be more flexible? And the more flexible you can be with your deadline, the better off you're going to be as a negotiator. And that deal we were talking about, I flew out to Tennessee. I spent money. I stayed overnight. We spent money in inspection. We spent money in due diligence. We're sort of attached to the property now, and this report comes back, this damning report, because it wasn't good. The property doesn't look good with this. So, I mean, if it's 50-50 and we're like, maybe, we'd probably go into it because we spent so much time and so much energy into it. You have to step back and say, listen, this is just a business deal. It doesn't look good, even though I spent all this time and all this money. And that's what a lot of guys do. A car salesman will say, hey, Jake, you like this car? Take the car home overnight. Take it for a couple of days. Once you get attached to that car and you like that car, it's a lot harder to step out of that car. I was already envisioning the 100 units bringing another $3,000 a month into my bank account. That's not good, right, Jake? Once you start doing that, you start losing.
Ching, 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 ching,
you start losing objectivity, right? And you don't want to lose objectivity.
Gino was going to buy another Porsche.
Actually, I wasn't, but you know what I'm saying? It's just like, it's not a good thing when you start doing that, because you have to be objective about it. It's only a business deal, and we had no deadline, thank God. There's no deadline. There was no pressure for us to do the deal. Although, as these cap rates are shrinking, we feel some kind of pressure where it's harder to find a deal. So we could make a mistake and say,
but you got to be patient,
dice.
Right?
Yep, I totally agree with that.
And we're already looking at another 100-unit deal, so we're back in it. So let's get back to your article a little bit, and let's knock out a few of these points. And this is such a simple one. The first one you write, put your offer in writing. Why is that so important, even though it's so simple?
Well, everything's in writing. You got a piece of paper. Person who reads something is a lot more, I guess, what's the word? You're more believable. When you read something, it's more believable to you. So what Jake and I like to do is, we like to do a deal analyzer. We like to send them our underwriting template and say, hey, listen, at $1.6 million, this property doesn't work because our cash-on-cash return is only 2% and the cap rate is 6. We don't buy in these numbers. Then we can send another spreadsheet saying, this is what we'd like to offer. This is what our price is. And on that first spreadsheet, believe it or not, we've had guys turn around and negotiate against themselves and actually say, you're right, probably $1.6 million is too high. How about $1.4 million? So we've already gotten a concession before we even asked the concession or even started the negotiation. So that's why get your stuff in writing is so important. I mean, Jake and I wrote a best-selling book. Gives us a lot of credibility. The written word gives you a lot of credibility in negotiation.
I think the credibility piece is so important because it shows to the broker that you can be talking about it, but when you start putting LOIs out there and things in writing, you're showing a time commitment. You're showing that you're serious and that you're ready to start moving forward. Very important. Yep. It's just you got to put it out there, and then that gets everything kicked off. This is another one that may seem kind of obvious, but is super important, and I've struggled with it. Try to be non-confrontational. Can you elaborate on that?
Well, people do business with people who they like and respect. I think Zig Ziglar said that. I mean, if you really think about it, do you want to do business with a jerk? I mean, if you have to, you will. But if there's two guys, and I put this out there, if there's two products, right, and there's a product that's superior, but the product is a little inferior, this guy's not a nice guy. This guy's a good guy.
Making your life easy, right?
You'll probably go with the guy who's got the inferior product if you like him a lot more than this other guy. That's just how we are in life. We want to deal with people who we like and who we trust. So, I mean, being non-confrontational is one thing. I don't mean get in somebody's face and start yelling. I mean, you can still be negotiating with somebody a price and having a concession and going back and forth. But you just don't want to rub somebody the wrong way, because once that happens, it's going to be really hard either to do business with that person or to try to do repeat business with that person.
And it's all about doing business commercially, right? If someone's not budging on their price, you need to just step back and look at it from their perspective and keep finding creative ways to get it done and not getting emotional about it. Mm-hmm. You need to be objective. It's just a business transaction. You can't, this guy's doing this to me. No, you take a step back. You find out, how can we get it done? How can we get over the hurdle and not get emotionally tied into what you think that other person's doing to you? Because they have reasons that they're either saying no or saying yes. And you just got to keep working and being persistent to find the one that's going to get it done versus getting emotionally dragged down, because that's going to become toxic and it's going to cloud your thinking. And I think that's why it's so important. Be objective on these deals. Try to understand what's going on from their perspective, even though it may not matter, but just so you don't get emotional about it and think someone's trying to do something to you versus how you're going to get the deal done and bring both sides together. That's my take on it.
The other thing, before we end and go to the next one, it's always what's in it for me. That's the problem with our society now. It's not what's in it for me. If you can think of it, what's in it for him, and figure out his side and what he's looking for, then you can come to a solution like owner financing. If you see somebody who's really motivated but can't sell this property, that motivation might lend you to say, hey, owner financing might work on this deal. Whereas if you're looking at a beautiful downtown AU building and the guy's got no motivation to sell, owner financing is not going to work on that deal. So find out what's in it for him, and then you'll find out what's in it for you.
Yep. And the flip side to all this is creating rapport. Because ultimately, if you guys can sit down, work together, and, Gino likes to pick on me about the Buffalo Bills because I'm always talking about it. But listen, if someone came to me and wanted to sell me a property and then said, oh, man, you see the Bills game this weekend? They really thumped up on the Browns. I'd say, yeah, but it was the Browns. But you know what? I'd probably have a soft spot for that guy, and then I'd be more, willing to talk to him. I always talk about, back in the days where I was selling pharmaceuticals and vaccines, the experienced guys, I would go in guns a-blazing. I was young, I was energetic. Product, push the product, right? I'd go in the doctor's office. The experienced guys would go in, oh, Dr. Smith, how are you doing? How are the kids? Oh, you just went on a trip to France. How was that? And they'd build that rapport, and then that would create an environment where you're able to sell. That's what the experienced guys do versus the young hungry crazies like myself. Gino, what is it? Two ears and one mouth? Is that what you just told me?
That's right. I mean, it's just I think it's sometimes it's so obvious, but we don't even think about it. That's why you want to be a well-rounded person. Try to read as much as you can. Try to be into as many different experiences as you can. Try to get uncomfortable in life. Try to learn what other people are going through, so then you can have that rapport with them and build it with them. And I always think kids is a big thing. I always talk about when I meet somebody, they have a couple kids, I have kids. I always like to get off on that. Oh, how you doing? How's the parenting going? That kind of stuff. So I build rapport from that angle.
Sincere about it, right?
Totally, yeah. Well, yeah, because I want to know about people. That's what I think life's all about. It's all about these connections we're creating in life. It's not really about the deal. Ultimately, is, but you want to create other connections in life. So that's why I think building rapport is really exciting. It's really one of those key foundational principles in negotiation.
G Daddy, you a beast, brother.
Thanks, Jay. Have a great week.
Guys, hold on before we hang up. The link is where, Gino, for the article? Because I think folks, they want to check out the entire thing.
I'll put the article down in the show notes, but it's on Bigger Pockets. If you go into biggerpockets.com and just type in my name, Gino Barbaro, I've got about 20 blogs on there, and you'll find it on there.
Awesome. There's more to it, guys. We just want to keep this one short, so take care. We'll see you.
Bye, guys.